everybody via the internet. We are here at DeSoto National Memorial today. My name is Ranger Alyssa, and with me we have
Ranger Rachel. Oh my gosh. So we're live from DeSoto National Memorial with you today, and we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff today.
Yeah, so we're introducing a series of things called Ranger Roundups. Now, what the heck does that mean? So Ranger Roundups is basically us coming to you in your homes while you're all cooped up in your bed or wherever you're watching this. And we're going to tell you a little bit about some of the native flora and fauna here, and some of the building blocks or essentials of life here in Florida, and how you at home can experience these things even in your backyard or just out a window.
Most definitely, yeah. We're going to be talking about some hidden things that you might have not even thought about.
Exactly.
And then we're going to give you some fun activities, so stay tuned so you can actually go out into your backyard and do this stuff yourself.
Yeah, so we're going to get started on our episode 1. There will be more episodes, hence why it's number 1. And it's called What's All the Buzz About? So Rachel, what are we talking about today?
So, what is all the buzz about? So, when we're thinking about buzz, we're going to be initially thinking maybe bees. So, we're going to be talking and discussing 2 different kinds of bees today. So, we're going to be talking about bumblebees, and then we're going to be talking about honeybees. And we're going to be talking the similarities, the differences, and why is this important to you? You know, why should you care about bees, and how are they a hidden building block in your kind of world? Because, you know, we don't normally think of bees like that.
Yeah. So, we have nice visuals for you all to look at. So, we'll talk about some of the similarities and differences between some of the bees that we have here. I know that Pooh Bear would probably be very excited about this episode. But here we have our 2 various bees. On top we have our honeybees, and then down here we have bumblebees. Don't worry if you can't see these, they'll be posted online as well, and we have giant pictures that we'll hold up in just a minute. So basically some of the similar things between all bees, they're composed of 3 different body parts. So you have your head, your thorax, and then your abdomen. So if you look at these, you can kind of see all the differences between them. So they're kind of segmented out. You'll also notice that they have 2 wings.
Yes.
And 6 legs each. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. You can even tell from these overheads. This is going to be your honeybee, and this is going to be your bumblebee. You can tell that the honeybee is a lot smaller than the bumblebee. So think about when somebody's standing next to you and they're 2 times larger than you. So that's what we're talking about today, because that honeybee is going to be 2 times smaller than that bumblebee. So they're very different sizes. It's going to be more slender, kind of a light, delicate. So if a honeybee were to land on you, you probably wouldn't even feel it on your arms. But a bumblebee, they're going to be a little bit more larger, robust kind of deal, rather than that straight, slender kind of line. They're going to be more rounder, and they're a lot more fuzzier. They have a lot more hairs on them, rather than the honeybee who has a little bit of hair on them.
Yeah. So that's kind of it for how they look and the differences and similarities between that. Now we're going to move on to some other similarities and differences.
Welcome back, guys. So you can see that we've kind of changed positions here. So you can see that we have this wonderful Venn diagram that has already been filled out for us. And then we also have our pictures of our honeybee and then our bumblebee. So now you can see them up close and in action with different flowers. So we're going to be talking about their homes first of all. So when we think of bees in general, I feel like we just think about the cartoon version, kind of maybe their nest is out on like a branch, and a bee or a bear is trying to grab it and climb up that tree to get that delicious honey. But unlike that, technically bees don't really put their hives rarely out actually on those kind of branches like that. So honeybees, they're going to be wanting to live more in caves, rock crevices, or hollow trees. So they're going to be trying to get that cover and hide from those kind of predators like that.
Nice.
And where do bumblebees live? Do they live in trees and stuff like that?
So bumblebees also don't like to live in trees. If you think trees a pretty vulnerable place, anybody or anything can just kind of reach up and knock it out of the tree. So what bumblebees will do is they find like underground holes. So basically, yeah, if like a mouse makes a hole in the ground and then like leaves to go make a different hole, those bumblebees will take over that nest and
Move in. Hey,
yeah,
get out.
Exactly.
We're moving in.
Move in. Yeah, so they're like, we didn't have to do the work to make this nest. We're just gonna kind of move in. Nobody's here, so we might as well claim this spot as our own. So that's why when you see bumblebees around your house, you'll usually see them pretty close to the ground because that's where they're keeping their nest, and that's where all their people are living. Yeah. So once we're talking about nests, there's about 400 bees that live in one nest, which compared to like 4 people in a household, 400 bees is like a lot.
I don't know if I would want to live in that nest.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't know if I'd want to live with like 400 other people. That'd be a lot of bees all in one nest.
Most definitely.
But how many bees are in like a typical honeybee nest?
So we may think that 400 is a lot, but a typical honeybee nest is going to have 20,000 to 60,000 bees in that one hive. So compared to that 400 might sound a lot better than being in a honeybee's nest, where you're going to be dealing with a lot more bees.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of bees. How do those bees stay cool? Because I feel like being surrounded with that many people, like I would just be super hot, I'd be super warm, I'd be very claustrophobic.
Especially in Florida.
Especially
we know the
in
Florida weather here. Well, actually, bees were the first insects to make air conditioning. So they use their wings and they flap them if it gets too hot in there, and it lives the circularization and lets that air get in there.
That's awesome. And that's with bumblebees too, right?
Yeah, they both make air conditioning. So that's bees in generals with insects. Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's pretty cool. But how do they even sustain that many people? Like how far do they have to go for their food? Because I drive like 5 minutes to Walmart, to get my food. But how are they sustaining these numbers?
It's a lot of people to feed, or bees to feed, I guess. So our small little bumblebee, he's only about an inch long. They're gonna fly about 3 miles a day. So they're gonna go pretty far from where they are, considering how small they are. And they're gonna travel long and hard, searching for all that, for all those flowers, and they're gonna come back at the end of the day well rested. But yeah, how far do your bees have to travel?
Honeybees have to go 6 miles. So that's double the length of what bumblebees have to go.
Yeah, it's a long way to travel.
Yes, for just some flowers and, nectars, what, they're going to be eating. But unlike honeybees, do they make honey? Do bumblebees?
Yeah, so bumblebees they're a little different. They can sometimes make honey. But they're not going to make too much honey. They kind of just like to eat all the nectar from all those yummy flowers that they're finding. So they have like giant tongues. They'll stick their tongue down into a flower, try and get all that yummy nectar out. And if they can't reach it, they've even been known to bite through flowers. They really
aggressive eaters.
Really want that nectar, yeah. They're like, we have to figure out how to get it somehow. Yeah, honeybees, they do eat the nectar, but they also process it in their stomachs, and that's what we are actually eating as honey. It's crazy.
Yes.
So are all the bees doing this, or is it just like certain bees?
So their hives are composed of three kind of classes. So you're gonna have your queen bee, you know, that we think of all laying the eggs and everything. She doesn't have to do anything. She just kind of hangs out and lays eggs.
What
and
a
then
nice
you,
life.
I know. And then you have your drones, which we think of, what is a drone? You know, they're this thing in the
Is
sky.
It flying? Yeah, it's flying around in the sky out there.
They actually are the male bees, and they don't have to do anything either except for reproduce with the queen bee.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they
Good.
don't even have stingers. So yeah,
Oh.
they're not very.
So they don't even have
only
stingers.
have. I know they only have one job,
All
and
right.
that's to reproduce the hive. And then you have your worker bee. So if you ever see a bee out in nature, it's gonna be a female worker bee. And
Girl power.
Yes,
Yeah.
girl power all the way. What she's gonna be doing is collecting that nectar and processing that nectar. They have to process it 2 times. And then
Oh my goodness.
they put it in their honeycomb and they have to flap their wings to get all that water out of there. And then they seal it up, and that's what we get honey.
Oh my gosh, that's
I know.
crazy.
A lot of work.
Yeah, that is a lot of work compared to just with your bumblebee, like sticking their tongue in the flower and then they can like move on with their life. So that's pretty cool. And I know that bumblebees also have the 3 various kinds.
Oh yes, yes.
Basically,
yes.
yeah, they're doing the same thing.
Yes, they do
have,
have that similar with their nestings and their kind of organization.
yeah, so they have the queen, they have the female workers, and they're gonna also have those drones. And the drones can't sting. But it's weird because we talk about bees. We're always thinking about
we're
about
scared.
getting
Yes.
bee stings.
Yes.
I don't like getting
I
bee
know.
stings.
They hurt.
They hurt a lot. So, like, do your honeybees like sting, and how many times can they sting?
They do sting, but they don't want to sting you because they can only sting once, and then they die. So
that's not good.
yes. So if you ever do see a honeybee out there, you know, just stay still, stay calm, and they usually just leave you alone. They might smell like a perfume on you or something like that, and maybe they think you're a flower, you know. They're trying to collect that nectar out there to make that honey. Do bumblebees sting at all?
Yeah, so our female worker bumblebees, they do sting. They're kind of like the honeybee. They just are minding their own business. They're not gonna actively seek you out to sting you. But if they feel threatened, they definitely will sting you. And the thing about bumblebees is they can sting more than once. Yeah, so you don't want to make a bumblebee upset because you
Most
might get
definitely, yeah.
multiple stinger, and that would not be
Not fun. No,
would not
that
be a good
hurts.
day. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would not like to be stung by a bumblebee.
Now, how do they communicate with each other? Because you know how we communicate with everyone. How do they know where these flowers are?
That's so true. So, bumblebees, as we said before, there's not too many of them, so they're not going to have too intricate of a communication system, whereas I know the honeybee kind of has a pretty intricate communication system. But what these bumblebees have instead is they have some smelly feet, which sounds really weird. How am I going to communicate with
Yeah.
smelly feet? So what they end up doing is they have smelly feet because they have a lot of oil on their feet. So as they land on different flowers, they take all that nectar for themselves. They'll leave some of that oil left behind on the flower. So when the next bee comes along, they come flying up to this flower. They're gonna smell that kind of oily, smelly stuff, and they're gonna be like, oh wait. This nectar must all be gone because there was definitely a bee here,
Yeah.
and it was definitely a bumblebee, and they're not going to leave any nectar for me, so they can kind of move on to the next flower.
So funny. Imagine going around, putting your feet around on the grocery store, you know,
my
and being
gosh.
like, I took this apple.
I took this apple. It's mine now. Thank you.
That's so funny. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a funny kind of concept because we think of smelly feet and we're like, get away.
Get away. Yeah.
Smell.
And that's basically what they're doing. They're like, get away from this flower. Promise it has nothing for you. So I guess it's a
Good
good,
stuff,
yeah, it's a good communication.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But I know that honeybees have something a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a little bit different. They don't really use oils or anything like that. They, unlike the bumblebees, they actually kind of work together. So usually there'll be a scout bee of one of the worker bees that will go out and try to find some good flower, or maybe a bunch of flowers. They'll try and look for that. And then they come back to the hive and they do 2 different kinds of dances. And these dances, they're going to be a little bit different. The one's for shorter distances and the other one's for longer distances. So the round dance is just kind of a circle, and it's just going to be for a shorter distance, but then they do a wiggle dance for long distances.
Wiggle dance.
And the longer they wiggle is the farther it's away. And then also the direction they do the wiggle is where it's actually at. So it's very interesting when we think of dancing. Yes. Yeah, and then so they do the dance and then they all look around. So it's kind of like if you were dancing and your family would be like, yeah,
we know exactly what you're saying. It's kind of like the reverse Cupid shuffle, where the song tells you what to do and you follow. It's kind of like you do it, and then like the song or everybody else gets whatever.
They're very interesting concept of when we think about communicating, and both of these bees have very interesting ways to communicate.
That is very interesting. Well, the next time you ask if there's a store around the corner, I'll use the wiggle dance to tell you where it is.
Thank you. I'll appreciate that.
So like why should we care?
Why are we
about
talking
this?
about
like,
this?
I mean, bees, sure. They're cute. I think they're cute. I mean, like, look at him. He's so fluffy. But like, why should we care? I don't know.
Well, both of these bees are a great use in our kind of daily lives that we don't really actually realize that they are important. Yeah. So they are great pollinators.
Cool.
So when we're talking about how they're flying from flower to flower, they're actually pollinating the flower so that maybe it could create a fruit. So create apples or create a different kind of crop that we would use in our daily lives. And actually there's an industry of 20 million of crops per year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a big amount. And, they're starting to disappear because then they're not going to have, certain resources that they need,
Yeah, definitely. So we want to make sure we're protecting them because then we won't have apples.
Exactly.
I mean, that would be really bad.
Yes, definitely.
We wouldn't have a lot of other things as well. But so you say that they're pollinators. They're helping us make apples, but I don't see any apples on here, so I'm kind of confused. Rachel, can you explain to me why I can't see the apple? How are they making the apples if I can't see it?
How they make the apples is they'll take them on different farmers will actually get these beekeepers to put them on big tractor trailers, and they move them around to the different orchards that they need to actually pollinate. So they'll bring these big kind of tractor trailers with all these bees on them, and then they'll put them out in these kind of fields, and then they'll do their business for like a week or two while the pollination is actually happening, and then they actually will take them back. But the problem is they're not using filler crops anymore. So like alfalfa or clover, they're using artificial kind of fertilizers and stuff like that. So what this does to the bee is it kind of makes them intoxicated and confused, and then they can't get back to their hive because they're disoriented. And so this is kind of bad because also it creates a food desert. So once the pollination has happened, if they don't get out there sooner, then they don't have any kind of pollen or nectar to actually eat. So they don't have any kind of food supply because all the other flowers in the orchard has been pollinated. So that's where these filler crops kind of come into play. So if you guys ever want to help out some bees, we're going to be listing some flowers that you can plant at home that are native Florida plants.
Oh, cool. So they just basically carry pollen around. Yeah, so they're they're going to all these flowers. So apples start out
Yes.
as flowers,
Yes.
right? Yeah, so they're moving all the pollen from all those flowers around, and they're moving from flower to flower, transporting all the pollen so all these flowers can turn into fruits.
Yes.
But how do they move the pollen? Are they like eating it? Are they like
So
picking it up? How's that happening?
So you can see on Alyssa's photo that has a little pocket, a pollen basket. So they have all these little hairs on their body that they actually get the pollen stuck to them, and they unknowingly kind of transfer it from flower to flower. So they don't actually know that they're that important, but they are, in our society, in our world, we would not have a lot of things. So bees kind of are our first best friends, actually.
Yeah, that's true. I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel, I think I was told that we are doing something that people can do at home.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean,
The backyard stuff?
Yeah. What's going on with that?
So we're going to be uploading some activity sheets. We're going to be uploading some resources for you guys. So we have 2 activity sheets for you guys to do at home, so you can go out in your backyard and fill them out and have something fun to do and stay safe while you're doing it, because we all know that we're cooped up right now, so
we need to stay kind of
active
at our house,
Yes.
but we want to go outside.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. And then also we're going to be posting some resources that you guys can go check out. It's going to be about different kind of flowers that you can plant at home. So maybe even make a garden. It's a very peaceful,
awesome.
way to
Spend your time.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely. It's a good mindset kind of deal, definitely.
Yeah, and these also, so these pages that we're going to be posting for the activity, there's 2 different kinds. So if your whole family wants to participate, each person can fill out this "Will you be my favorite flower" sheet. So basically, you're going out in your yard, you're looking for different bees, you're looking for the flowers. So look for different flowers in your yard, see how many different kind of bees are visiting it. And also down here, you get to follow a bee around. So
That's fun.
yeah, so you'll pick a bee that you want to watch for a while and see which flowers it's going to and how many times it's going to different flowers. And then if you did it with multiple people, there's this whole class data table, so you can compile everybody's information that they found out, and you can kind of see if one bee favors a flower over another bee. So maybe honeybees kind of like a different flower than
That's
bumblebees
interesting.
do.
Ooh.
So we can kind of
Yeah.
look, compare, and see what's going on. Maybe you can figure out if you have more bumblebees or honeybees in your yard too.
Yeah, and there's no age limit on this. So
None at all.
however old you are, you want to do this, feel free. It's a fun little activity. It gets you engaged and kind of thinking about, what bees and what's all the buzz about, actually. So,
What is all the buzz about?
good question. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us today, guys. We really appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you at our next episode.
Yes. Have a good one, and until next time.
Bye, guys. Stay safe.